Hey scrapbook friends, it's Nicole from Nicole's Scrapbooks, and I'm just here today to share with you a little bit about the Dazzle Border Punch from Creative Memories. Now, the Dazzle is one of our standalone border punches. You don't need any kind of a system to use it with. It just works by itself. And it's one of our more versatile border punches. There's just a lot of fun things that you can do with it that I'm going to share with you. Like all of our punches, it folds flat to store. So if you have it in a tools organizer or stored on your shelf, you're going to want to keep it stored flat. And then when it's time to use it, you slide this little lever and it'll pop open so that you have the lever action to do your punch. Now, this punch was actually manufactured before Creative Memories started putting the little black alignment lines on the outside. These are lines I drew with a Sharpie. But if you look inside, you can see there is a little black line on the blue, and that's going to be where you position your paper to make sure that you align correctly for cutting. I highly recommend taking a Sharpie and extending that line onto the white so that you can see where you're cutting. Just makes it a lot easier. So this first cut that we're going to do is just a regular old border punch. All of our border punches work the same way, and you'll have an easy time. You know, if you know how to use a border punch, you'll have an easy time with this part. So we're going to line up our paper with this black line. Make sure that it's all the way level against the back of this little, what we call a little fence right here. And then just press down, and then as you scoot over, align your paper so that it covers up this light blue design. So if you see right there, you can see that light blue through there, but I'm going to line it up and then none of that light blue is going to show. And that's how I know that it's perfectly aligned, so I'm not going to have any kind of jaggedy edge. It's just going to look like one long continuous border. All right, and so you get 5 scallops along one 12-inch piece of paper. And of course you could leave it like this. You could just put this as the top of, as your whole base of your page. I wouldn't probably layer it on top of a whole full piece of cardstock, but you could do just a strip of cardstock behind as a border. If this is what you wanted, this would be a great place to start. I did forget that this punch makes a lot of confetti. And so what I actually like to do is to take a piece of scratch paper and put it under my workspace. And of course, I like to use these inserts that come in our paper packs. I've talked about them before, but they are photo safe. You can use them in your scrapbooks, but until then, I just like to keep a pile of them handy so that I can use them to catch all the little speckles when I punch. So I've just cut my first border, and I can leave it at that. I can use my straight trimmer and cut an edge off and have just a border. For this one, this is a 2-inch border, and this is a 1.5 inch, so you could layer them and kind of get this kind of a bunting or a scallop look. I really like that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a double-sided border. And so I found that it's a little tricky because to trim your paper to the right size, it doesn't want to fit into this punch very well. So about the narrowest width that you can do for this look is going to be at 3 inches. And when I say 3 inches, I mean the fattest part of your swell edge you're going to put on the 3-inch line. And then we're just going to cut that with our straight trimmer. And because we used the line to position, so we know that when we started, we were lined up with this, you're going to want to do the same thing. And it is a little tricky because you can't see the edge of your paper. It's all the way hiding back there. So try to make sure that this little piece that's poking out is centered in the middle of there. And then we'll just do the same thing and we'll punch through. We're lining it up. We're punching on both sides. right, and here's our little pile of confetti now that's super easy to just carefully dump in our trash. And so then you have this. This could be a cute little border if you cut some circles or use some little decorative flowers or something like that. This could be a border on your page. And this is just if you cut a normal two-sided border. You could probably try maybe 2.5, even 2 inches. There's about an inch of space in the middle, but it's really hard to position it against these lines if it's that narrow. But the thing that I really like to do is to do an offset border. And that is this. So it's the same. We started on this side here, but then it's offset. If you can, if you can see that difference. And so for this one, you want to cut, do the same thing. Let's use a different color. You're going to do the same thing and cut your border starting with the line. All right, I got my 5 little scallops punched. And again, my trash. And then instead of, then we're going to trim it. And we could do a 3-inch. This was a 3-inch. But I'm going to go ahead and do a 2.5. Yeah. How about a 2-inch? We'll do a 2-inch. So again, here we got the line, the widest part on the 2-inch line. And we're just going to cut that. And I know I just told you that you can't really do less than 3 inches because it's so hard to line up. But with this one, it's going to be a little bit different. So instead of lining up with the black lines on the front, we're going to line up with the picture over here on the wings on the side. And we're going to go for that highest point, which is this point right here. So line it up against the fence again and kind of put that here. And then I like to kind of look at the pieces on both sides and just make sure that it looks pretty centered. But having your line right there in the center of this largest peak is the secret. So then we're going to punch down and do the same thing where we slide down. And it just gives you this fun kind of a garlandy look. This would be really cute with like green to use for Christmas. I actually really think it would be fun for bubbles or popcorn or even fireworks. And then these work in both directions. So now you can just put this back in and line up on this side to finish it off. All right, so this was the 2-inch offset border. And so you can then layer these like this. So I pre-cut some before. Here, this is the 2.5, which of course I can't share this one with you. So this was a 3, this was a 2.5. You can see it layers closer. This was a 1 and 1.5 or 1 3/4. Actually, I can't remember. Oh, this was a 3, this was a 2.5, this was a 2, and this was a 1 3/4. You can't really go smaller than that. And if you'll see, it did kind of overcut in here, so the little starburst shapes aren't as clean and pretty, but you definitely get that layered look. And I assume you could keep going, wider if you wanted to have a wider one. But this is with a 1/2 inch difference between where you trim it to get your different pieces. All right. So the next thing you can do is to cut a little square shape. And with this one, you're going to want to start with a 4-inch square. And I've tried it with several different sizes. And really the 4-inch square I found was the one that worked the best. Just because it lines up evenly. You don't have any excess that you have to trim off. So for this one, again, we can kind of ignore the little black lines on the front because we just want to center it visually. And so you're just going to have to kind of eyeball it and make sure you have about the same amount of distance on either side. And then you're going to turn it, do the exact same thing, eyeball it, make sure it's kind of centered. Keep going around. Oops. And then this last one. All right, centered. And there you go. So it's kind of a square. This would be good for like maybe like a monogram type letter or a small photo cut into a circle. Anyway, that's your 4-inch square. And then the other thing you can do that's very fun is to start with a circle. And you're going to use your custom cutting system, and you want to use the medium circle from the custom cutting system. If you're familiar with the custom cutting system, we have 3 sizes of circle that work with this. And this is the medium that's going to cut this piece that we're going to do. And I'm actually going to use this one on some pattern paper. You can use the punch on either cardstock or pattern paper. But I'm going to use this pattern paper, the medium circle, and the red blade, which is the one that cuts the closest to the actual cutting pattern. Let's see if I can be a little frugal with my paper. So you put the little legs of the custom cutting system blade in the groove. And then you just drive it around. And there's your circle cut out of pattern paper. And then close your blade back up, because this little yellow blade is super sharp. And if you accidentally leave it open, it can cut you, and nobody wants to bleed on their scrapbook project. Okay, so here's our little circle that we're starting with. And this time we're going to turn the punch over. Oh, look, pull out any confetti from your last project. And you just want to eyeball this first one. It doesn't really matter, but make sure that your the edge of the paper is up against the edge of the cutter right there, and you're just going to punch, whoops, on your scrap paper so you don't have confetti all over. Okay, and now we're going to use this little corner, whoops, this little corner of the piece we just cut, and you're just going to have to look for it in here. Let's see, I'll do it on the other side. It's a little easier. So right there is that little edge, and I just want to line it up visually so I barely can see the corner. I don't even know if you can see it. Right there is just the little bit of the edge. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to cut again. Oops, maybe not quite far enough. All right, same thing. I just want to barely be able to see that little piece. Can you see it? I don't know if you can see just that tiny little speck of edge. And this one is you're going to go around 5 times, always lining up with that little corner. And it just, then this one, you just want to line it with both corners. Make sure you're just a little centered. All right. Oops. You probably want to trim that one off with a little pair of scissors. My practice one was a lot straighter. But so this is you get more of like a little pentagon shape by doing it like that. And you just have to look in here and kind of peekaboo to find where to line up your cuts. And then the last thing that you can do with this is just to make some little tags, some little gift tags. And I would just do the same thing, punch along the edge. And this was a 4-inch width piece of paper, and I punched along one edge. And then I put it in my trimmer, and you just kind of eyeball it so that the lowest point of the groove here and here, you just make sure that it's straight and trim that off for the blade. I'm not going to take time to cut out another one. You guys can figure that out. But you can get 5 tags from a 4-inch by 12-inch strip of paper. So I hope you'll agree with me that the Dazzle Border Punch does more than just cut some borders. My favorite is really this kind of offset one. And you can try this with some of our other border punches, just by kind of finding where the center is, but this one I think works especially well. When I put the red and the gold and the white, it almost feels like almost popcorny to me. Or just the gold and the white, I think almost could be like a little popcorn thing. But if you did in green with red, it could be Christmassy. This one where I did with pink and purple, I thought was kind of baby. Anyway, just a really versatile, pretty punch. And it has been around for a while, so I don't know how much longer it will be in our product line. But while it's still here, I did want to show it to you. And then, of course, when you're done, you do the opposite. You just close it. You can see there's a little hook on here. So when you close it up and then slide this over, that grabs the hook. And then you have this just narrow little piece to store with your other punches. So I hope you will try some of these projects using the Dazzle Border Punch from Creative Memories. If you would like to purchase this, the link to my Creative Memories website will be in the description. I would love for you to subscribe to my channel and to leave a comment. Let me know if there's a product from Creative Memories that maybe you own and you can't remember how to use, or a product that you've considered purchasing that you would like a demo on before you decide, because I would love to show you more of these tools that I love so much. So thank you very much for watching, and happy scrapbooking.